Okay, sorry about that. For those who don't know, I accidentally had basically an alert, cancel immediately because I had forgotten to turn on my sound meter, and we got a Carlton. Okay, Carlton, say hello. Yeah. Okay, now I'm putting you back down on the floor, Fuzzy. All right. Now, tonight, I know it's been about a week and a half since I did one. Tonight we're going to discuss, or I'm going to discuss, basically what it was like back then versus now when it comes to, role-playing games. And I guess I'll start with my experience. To be exact, this entire video is just my experience. There are others who experienced something totally different. What I saw, what I went through, and what I saw other people doing, it's just what was around me. There are probably people out there somewhere that had a totally different style, totally different gaming, every bit of their experience utterly different. But I went all over the country at one point, and I saw this a lot of places. So, I started playing D&D. Well, I actually started playing it in the mid-'80s. You see, in the early 80s, I had the books, but didn't so much play. Now, being a kid, playing, with other kids, and at one point even playing at a Boy Scout camp, you'd think, okay, just kids being kids, but you've got to remember, this was also at the very height of the satanic panic. Gotta give that Kubrick stare. Anyway, the thing is, most families I know reacted to the satanic panic by going, "It's a book. What harm can a book and dice do?" Of course, ignoring all the harm that certain books did to politics in the 20th century, but we'll skip over that. That's not the purpose of this channel. Anyway, so the general reaction for most of the parents I knew was, it's a game. Okay, demons and dragons and devils are in the monster book. That means you fight them, right? You're not them? Right, we fight them. Okay, good enough for me. And of course, they didn't show that they had seen the fact that there are also angels in the monster book. But we'll just skip past that. Anyway, one thing that was common, I mean very common, was house rules. Everyone had their own. Well, back then it was a combination of misunderstanding actual rules, deciding that the actual rules didn't make sense, or deciding that they wanted to be a little more lax or a little more strict. To be fair, being 13, 14, 15-year-old kids who had never had anyone teach us how to play, a lot of them were the first misunderstanding existing rules. Some of the earliest house rules that have since become standard, if not in D&D, then a lot of other games: critical hits and critical fumbles. Now, there's no fumble charts in D&D, 5th Ed, and critical hits only do extra damage, and you can only crit, hit, or fumble on combat attack rolls. You can't critically succeed a skill check. But most people house rule you can. Anyway, so every time you started with a new group back then, you had to find out what their house rules were. Very often, because the idea of house rules being ubiquitous was strange, you'd find out about their house rules through playing. Now, back then, we didn't have a lot to compare the idea of role playing to. So a lot of people compared it to board games. This mindset manifests in how we played. To be exact, do you know how many times we opened the door to a 20-foot by 20-foot room and there were 12 orcs inside? Now, in reality, yeah, theoretically 12 orcs could fit in a 20 by 20 room. Could they fit in a 20 by 20 room? No. But we didn't care. We charged in there, hack, 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 hack. The only time people cared about 20 foot by 20 foot was when the wizard goes, I cast fireball. And everyone's like, oh, snipe. Get out. Then there were other things like the only corridor leading to the Orc King's chamber was lined in green slime. Well, how does the Orc King get out to get food, use the bathroom, issue orders, do messengers pass through the green slime back and forth? We didn't care. It was a trap critter. Yeah. That pretty much has it right. Green slime isn't a critter, it's a trap. Anyway, you had to go through the green slime to fight the big boss and win the dungeon. And everything back then was a dungeon. Now, it didn't matter if the adventure was about going through a city, we still called it a dungeon. And there almost always ends in some kind of maze. Naturally occurring caverns, lost dwarven citadels, the basement of a corrupt nobleman's fortress, whatever. It always ended in a dungeon of some kind. And only rarely were they really dungeons, prisoners and torture chambers and things like that. Anyway, some of you have seen the old video, Summoner Geeks. It's where they took various character models, both hero and villain, from the game Summoner, and set it to a recording of a bunch of actors playing at being 14, 15, 16-year-old kids playing D&D in the early 80s. It was actually originally from a comedy skit. But if you haven't seen Summoner Geeks, pause the video now, open up another tab up here, and search YouTube for Summoner Geeks. Watch it. It's hilarious. And then I'll be waiting right down here. Oh, you're back? I'm assuming you paused my video, because otherwise you're hearing two different videos at the same time now, and you're probably going, what? Anyway, the way that sounded, the way those kids were playing, was pretty accurate to what D&D was like in the early mid-80s. You accepted certain things just because we weren't there to play the role of Valandar the Red. Yeah, I know, that's my screen name and my character name, and yeah. Anyway, we weren't there to play the role of Valandar the Red. Valandar the Red was just our piece on the board to let us kill monsters, take the treasure, take it back to town to buy bigger stuff, so we can kill tougher monsters and get more treasure and take it back to town and get more powerful stuff and maybe find something in the more powerful monsters treasure hoard that's like, this is 1 plus higher than what I had. My old one's going in the trash and I'm going to use this one now. The concept of the murder hobo predates most games out there. It's how we played. The thing is, we weren't even really murder hobos because we check for traps every 10 feet. Roll the dice, Tom. All right, Clyde, what did you find in the other room?
There's an ogre!
Oh boy. Okay, I hit the ogre. I have one attack this round and two attacks every other round. That's all it was. To an extent, later on in the 80s, the concept of role-playing as improvisational theater started to grab hold. It started to spread throughout the zeitgeist of the D&D era. You know, they got the thoughts and the stuff and the thing. Anyway, and different genres of game led to different approaches to playing those games. I remember an incident when I was in college, and the game Shadowrun had just come out. And the players were attacked by some Lone Star cops in the middle of a mall. Well, one of our players had come straight from a Monty Hall murder hobo D&D game. And her reaction after we killed one of the cops was to loot the body. You're trying to run away from corporate police as a renegade cyber, not quite terrorist, not quite criminal, cyber criminal, let's just say. And you stop to loot the body. Because that's what you did in original D&D. Back when we were all kids playing around Clyde's mom's dining room table. And no, I never knew anyone named Clyde. That's just a name that, yeah. Anyway, and then in the mid-90s, somewhere in thereabouts, we had the rise of the storytelling game. And role-playing for the sake of role-playing started to become a thing. Now, admittedly, in that era, you had some games that were better for straight-up brawling. Fight, 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 fight. Other games that were better for straight-up role-playing, because they had like a weak combat system, but amazing social systems. The idea of being able to do both with one game is a little iffy. I mean, Vampire, yeah, you could do a hack and slash in Vampire, but it wasn't really cut out for it. But by the same token, there were other games you could do actual role-playing in, but the worlds that these games were set in were a bit simple, a bit underdone. Now, admittedly, this means there's room for your game master to get really creative, but some people like playing in an established world. And then around, the turn of the millennium, you started to see games like 7th Sea and Legend of the Five Rings that, scarily enough, allowed for both styles of play. Third Ed and 3.5, just a year later or 2 years, like however long it was pretty good at dealing with both sides of things. And you started seeing campaigns where the gameplay, even for kids, was starting to be a lot more mature. Yes, you had moments where get out of the trash can, thoughts about. Anyway, you had moments where you were charging through the enemy horde, great sword raised high and swinging it away. But you also had moments where you were just haggling with the store clerk, or maybe passing on the negotiations from your king to a neighboring allied duke, going back and forth. Yes, you're various, but His Majesty says this. Whatever. The idea of gaming for roleplay and hack and slash started to really blur. Fourth Ed was a hiccup. Less said about that, the better. But now, not only have examples of amazing gameplay available on YouTube and Twitch and many other streaming sites. I mean, Critical Role, Acquisitions Inc. Examples of really good gaming. There's even examples of really good gaming from brand new players who've never played before. Outside Xbox and Outside Extra have the Ox Adventure. They never played. They decided to play, and they love it. And it's hilarious watching these people brand new to the entire genre. They've experienced computer games, but never anything with dice and paper and people. And it's just wonderful to watch. Nowadays, if I went to a store in an area, like I live in West Tennessee. Let's say I went to a store in San Francisco, going as far away as I can. Or better yet, let's say I went to a store in Seattle, and they had on Friday nights D&D encounters. Even if I don't have a character with me, I could sit down, be handed a character, and play. The idea is remarkable. It's something that really makes me as a gamer happy. Right now, this is pretty much I call it the fourth renaissance, but it's probably the biggest. And again, it's thanks to Critical Role and other shows like it. It's thanks to the popularity of both Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. Geek culture is now sought after. I mean, with the Marvel movies, I mean, come on. And the internet being a rise for people saying, I may not be average, but who wants to be average? And this has led to the return of D&D into the public spotlight, bigger than it ever has been since the Satanic Panic. And as someone who has been there from the Satanic Panic until now, it may be the fourth big surge we've had, but it's the best. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for watching this little video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell icon. I've got a note down there if you want to watch me sculpt tabletop miniatures for 3D printing. You know, 3D printing, and even painting. Well, there's a link down below too. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hold my hand up here, and I'm going to count from 5 to 1. When I get to 1, I'm going to say something goofy or ridiculous or deep and go. When I see that means I caught up to the broadcast gap, the loose everything that YouTube has, and it'll be time for me to go ahead and shut down the broadcast. So, that's going to be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you think Monty Hall ever knew that people were using his name to refer to overly validated, way too much treasure D&D games? Gotta think about it.